Greetings, listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the Tuesday series, the Digital Online Streaming Mastery Show, Train the Trainer Edition. This is unit number 30, conduct number 25. 10 more units and 10 more conducts. 10 more units, 10 more conducts to hit the 40. Then we are done and we can regard ourselves as the subject matter experts. I know we are already almost there like that, but you never know. 10 more units, 10 more conducts can change one's perspective, can change one's way of showing up. So, yeah, we are grateful that we could move to this far. My name is Sam Zima. This is COMETSA Radio Worldwide. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. The shows are based on the principle that we call the idea. We inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. We invite you to go back to the series and watch the previous units and conducts. You can get that at insightsonlinepodcast.com. Or you can go straight to COMETSARadioWorldwide.com, and all the units and the previous conducts that have been discussed are in a form of podcast available there. You can get it as well at Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many others. Don't miss the sequence. It's really a build-up to where we are today. Let me greet you once more, listeners, and welcome my co-anchors, co-hosts, George Mutenda Zamera, Rabula Murivani, Divesh Mutilal. I can see Marco has just joined, Franz Ramutla, and Ompile Liepile is here. Michael, I can see you on the public platform. I hope you're enjoying already this first start into the show. George, let me welcome you to greet the listeners and tell us how you've been since we last spoke last week and your perspective on today's topic. Over to you. Okay, George seems to be not able to come on. Rabula, welcome back. I thought you will join us from Geneva, but looks like you're back in the country. Welcome back.
Good evening, Sam. Good evening to the listeners. Yes, a person managed to come back last night or yesterday. There's still some issues there and there of jet lag, but we are here. Nothing comes to a standstill. Things must move on. So that's how we are. That's what we are. So let's share whatever needs to be shared on this platform. So thank you, Sam. I'm here. My name is Rapula Mudibani, the owner, the managing director of Retaliville Holding Group, specifically focusing on the mentor and coaching for entrepreneurs. So we're here to come and share what we need to share with our listeners. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. You made us admire you in front of those iconic institutions of the world in Geneva. So we are motivated to also show up there. I guess when you're there, you felt like you're on top of the world, not so?
No. One thing which a person need to observe, always observe with a positive spirit. You look at a country like Switzerland, how small it is, and then you manage to say all these big iconic stages are housed in that country, in a town called Geneva, and you look at this and say, oh, that's where all decisions have been made.
Mm.
And you never hear about,
Yes,
and you never heard about Sweden vetoing or agreeing, disagreeing with any resolution. but they're holding all these discussions in their backyard. So, but it's one of those little things you learn.
Yeah, well, I would behave the same if I had such iconic institutions in my country. Why will I cause trouble? I'm joking.
You are right.
You cross over to Zurich, and then there's the mighty FIFA house.
No, I didn't even reach Zurich. I think the farthest I could go was France. So just a small town, very iconic town next to Geneva, but it's in France, called Annecy. It's very interesting. So, but those are little things you learn.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Welcome back home, and we are glad you could join. Thank you so much. Divesh?
Evening, Sam. Evening to the listeners and evening colleagues. This is Divesh Motilal, resident DJ at COMETSA Worldwide, member of Friends and Supporters Club. And what I would like to share is I've been involved in the tedious and sometimes, disengaged sort of approach towards professionalizing the state being government institutions and entities, and focus has been towards people who are involved with infrastructure or technical work who don't necessarily have the technical requirements or qualifications or requisite experience. So we are doing our little bit to try and improve the situation, and the end goal being that service delivery can improve from the country. That, of course, stems from a instruction that came from the president of the country, President Ramaphosa, that he wants to professionalize the state in terms of areas where we are involved with infrastructure. Just as well, in terms of the point that we were discussing with Rapula, if there's an adage that says those who stay in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So, seeing that Switzerland's got most of the world's resources under control, the ones that's above ground, I would also not want to fight with anyone because all our resources are actually sitting in that country. Thank you, Sam.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree with you, Divesh, and there's sort of a sense you pick up when you engage with the Swedes. You get the similar sense. No, we live in peace. Why should it cause trouble? Thank you.
Absolutely. And, those institutions create jobs, even if it might not be directly, but can you think of all those international people that live in that city and that travels across the world, how much service they are being offered by locals and how much foreign currency they are bringing into the region. It's a wonderful thing. I wish we can have also in terms of the African Union, we can have some of the African Union institutions in South Africa. Botswana has done very well. I think what do they have is, they have SADC, North African Union. It's headquartered in Botswana. And then, of course, the African Free Trade area is headquartered in Ghana. What else? And then, of course, Ethiopia is the head office. So I like that kind of competition to host these international bodies. Great stuff. Thanks. And Divesh, it's wonderful to know that there is an effort to really professionalize. I guess the implied intention there is that will improve the service to the people. It's not professionalization for the sake of professionalization. We want service and we want people to enjoy that service that they pay for in the form of taxes.
Indeed, Sam.
Beautiful. Who is next in line? George, I'm not sure whether you are still struggling to come up and say a few words. Let me move on to Margot, Franz Ramutla. Welcome, Margot.
Good evening, Prasam. Good evening, colleagues, and good evening, listeners. Yeah, today in my preparation for today's session, I visited an auto electrician to take my car there. Relevant to the topic today, I viewed myself as a customer, and I had to look at the things I'm looking for from my service provider. And this auto electrician, then I found that what makes me to go to him usually is his ability to diagnose the problem when I go there, and the ability to address that problem effectively. Secondly, as his customer, I looked at his attitude. Whenever I go there, he received me with a smile, a hug, and a handshake. And I've noted that his prices are reasonable. Therefore, I realized that the attributes that he has exhibited are in line with the input that we will be sharing today in terms of the understanding the customers and the customer care. I also, as usual, attended an NGO meeting where I am a coordinator. So it was very interesting to note that after the previous meeting where we were not having a quorum, I decided to use as one of the media platforms. I used the WhatsApp group today, and we almost reached a 100% quorum. I can say we reached a 90% quorum. And then from that meeting, I had the ability to note some of the issues that we discussed in terms of the characteristics of online digital platforms. There, I was able to communicate with the people who were attending the meeting with me, and I was able to reflect at some stages to make sure that me and them are reading from the same page. And then I was also able to instill active participation, because sometimes some of them will be keeping quiet, but through reflection, they will be able to come back and participate. The third thing that I did in my preparation for this session, I read the books by Dale Carnegie, and I came across one book that says "Living is Selling." It says that when I speak to Brasem, I'm selling an idea. It even says when I ask my spouse for a date to go to a restaurant that is selling, and I'm expecting her to buy by accepting. And then the other topic there was how to win friends and influence people and sell the ideas to them. So in this way, they say the way your customer wants to buy, it's a real modern sales cycle. It's one that depends on your ability to influence more than just one buyer, understand what today's customers want from you and don't want, and use time-tested human relationship principles that will help you strengthen the relationships anywhere in the global economy. Yeah, this wraps up my day. And one of the focus of my day was to try and look at the topic for today and see at the areas of relevance that will enable me to participate and contribute. Thank you.
Great insights, Dr. Ramutla. Thank you so much. That's beautiful to hear. And Dale Carnegie, the famous book, I think it's called How to Make Friends and Influence, or whatever. I read the book. I think I've got it somewhere here. It's a classic of, I don't know when, the 60s, 80s, whatever, but it's still relevant even today. Agreed. Every time you try to convince somebody to agree with you, you are actually selling. It might not be in the form of getting money, but you are selling an idea or proposition, indeed. And I'm glad that you tried the tips from last session to achieve full attendance today at your meeting.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Welcome, Ompile. Are you with us today? I'm glad to see you in the studio.
Yes, good evening, Tate Sam, and good evening to my colleagues and the listeners. Yes, today I'm listening. I was able to sort out my technical issues, and I'm fascinated about what we're gonna be discussing today. Already, I've learned a lot with regards to what Divesh and Rapula have been saying, and also Franz. So, for me, just to reflect, I mean, to just jump in with my day check-in. Today, I was just trying to fix my registration at the university, so I was able to register for the academic year of this year. So the academic year normally starts September, and I was one thing that was like my wow moment was last week when we saw our deputy president, going in Limpopo, collapsing. So it was something that spread it throughout. It was a shock to me, but I was glad that he was actually good. So that was something that I just wanted to just mention. It was a shock for me that, this, as much as we always criticize our leaders, they are actually going through a lot, and they are doing a lot of work. I heard that he was working from Monday to Sunday. So it was something that came to me that we must always try and pray and support our leaders so that they can be able to overcome whatever that they might be going through. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was a shock to all of us when it was live on TV. One didn't know what after that what's next, but we're glad that he's doing well based on what we hear. But I think also what comes out of that is the realization that loving kindness, as we always say, in terms of mindfulness and meditation, listening to the body and responding accordingly in terms of taking rest and all things. We're just talking under general without knowing in particular what caused it, but we can only associate it with amount of demands and the pressures on the type of work he is holding. Is the second citizen in the country. That's massive. Whether you are working or not, or you're sitting and thinking, you are thinking in terms of huge responsibility after the president. If the president says, Mr. Deputy, I'm going to take a nap, please don't sleep while I'm sleeping. So that on its own could be a huge demand. I know as citizens, as people, we have everything to say about every leader. But if you put yourself in their role, in their positions, it can be understood that there are demands into all these roles. But at the end of the day, you're the only one who knows how far you can carry on, and also have to try and inform those who are your handlers that you need break. But anyway, I didn't know that it was such a global thing. Thanks, Ompile. You're situated there in Europe, Paris. We use you as a control instrument, if I may use that, to check what is trending out of South Africa into the world. And we can tell you here at home what is trending from the world into South Africa, so that you remain in touch with us. And I'm glad you have registered for your academic year. And it's the last academic year, right? You're completing your studies.
Yes. At the moment, it was the last academic year, so they have a lot of administration here in France. So a lot of administrations. So I had to go through them, but it is indeed my last registration, and I'm also interested in what we're gonna discuss today. It's always a key to me to always satisfy the customers. So it's something that is very key to me, what we are going to discuss about today. I'm looking forward in learning more about how do you ensure that you create a customer and you make sure that you retain the customer.
Indeed. That's the whole idea, that's the whole focus of offering services and products. George, welcome.
Yes.
George, I can see your mic is off. Is ready. If you are still battling and if you are talking and we can't hear you, I suggest that you log out and then log in again. So somehow you are not coming through. Beautiful. Let's look at the topic of today: customer service and aftercare. In the context of our digital online streaming program and hosting of shows and inviting guests, I think we have made this experience, Divesh, then when we were still going through training, where we had a template, even a template of a thank you letter. And we said that once a guest has been into our show, don't spend more than 2 days without going back to them to thank them. And the whole idea is that you want them to know that you appreciate, and also want them to know that you want to check if they made the same experience as they expected. So it was mandatory, and is a normal practice that should become culture in relationship with customers. Even though the customer pays for the services, it's courteous for you to send them a thank you note, and that was the whole idea why we did it. George, I'm gonna give you time to say hi, and then at the same time delve into the first topic: who we are and what we do, and as service providers. Who are our customers? What is customer service, and who are customer service providers? Let's spend some time talking about those 3 points. George, if you can greet the listeners and also reflect on those 3 points. I hope you are able to talk now. I hope I'm not the only one who's not hearing George.
No, it's not visible, audible. So
I also don't hear him, but it looks like he is mute in terms of what I'm seeing.
Yeah. He keeps on opening his microphone, and I thought he will be able to talk, but he doesn't seem to. Probably he's talking, but we can't hear him. Yeah. So I guess the first question to answer is always Umpile. Okay, so we lost Umpile. To define who your customer is, and let's look at customers broadly, and then narrow it down to traditional customers. Who will be the customers of us holistically in this platform or in the shows, in your view, and in your own particular company, Divesh?
well, in relation to the area of focus with regards to our shows, the main customer for me is the listeners, and there's a value chain, in fact. So you've got your listeners who are your customers at the end. You've also got a platform which you would be utilizing, even if it's a online radio station type of platform. That again is a customer that you would also have to keep in mind. But as well, your guest as well can also be seen as a customer where you want to get the best out of him, and not only in terms of the content and information that you share to the listeners, but also in terms of being able to promote him as an individual. If he's representing a business or an institution, you want to also utilize the platform and your show to also elevate his initiatives, his products that he might also is in his institution that he's also representing.
Mm, mm, mm. So once you have understood your customer, you then look at what is the service that they're buying from you. In terms of the platform, Divesh, we will be the customer to the platform, but people that come to the platform to access us, they will be our customers. So it's quite very it's a value chain of relationships, if we may look at that way. And then within ourselves, who provides the service? So will that be the service to the customers? In this case, is the platform, but it could also be the guest that we bring in to engage with the listeners. Will that fit the definition?
So my approach, I agree with Divesh, but however, I'll add some sweetener on it, of saying my customers are those listeners who are hungry for knowledge. Because don't forget, that's how I differentiate myself with the other podcasters. Because don't forget the motto of the idea is to the picture, which put that picture into the customer's mind. I need to maintain that, because here I'm just making sure that my customers I use the word of saying, is giving a wisdom to make sure that I retain the similar customers and still increase my customer base around it. That's how I'll define it in terms of the current platform.
So that will be somebody that receive value from what you are delivering in the form of informing,
Yes.
entertaining, developing, educating, empowering, supporting, associating, and networking.
Exactly.
But if they don't see that as being the product services provided to them, you could just be making noise, right?
On your own, yes. Only
Okay.
find that you don't have customers who are keen and willing to tap on your wisdom. But if they're still there, and I believe and I agree that we have those customers, that's why we're still growing and growing very softly and very strongly in the industry itself.
Do they qualify as customers even though they don't pay us?
Yeah, they do.
Mm.
They do.
What value are we extracting from them?
They consume our product.
Mm. And what value are we expecting from them other than money?
At this stage, we haven't quantified the value extraction from them, but they have quantified the value extraction from ourselves.
Mm.
Because key to that is we also provide a platform to sell our services.
Mm. Mm.
The only thing we haven't say when we receive a customer, no, I got to know about Rapula on this platform.
Mm.
Perhaps we should start quantifying that and say that's how we pick up our customers. But we know our customers love our show.
Yeah, and from here we can channel them into our sales funnel, and they could come on the other side, and sometimes you may even forget that that's how you got them.
Yes.
Yeah. So Divesh.
Yes, Sam. In terms of value proposition, as Rapula was mentioning, there is various aspects that we could look at, not necessarily direct monetary value, but in the space of digital online streaming, the intention is firstly to obviously get as many listeners as possible, and then converting those listenerships into some kind of following where they could actually just keep listening in on your show, and you'd want to actually grow that to a point where you can either provide them with additional services, which can then be turned into a monetary value, or because of the amount of followers that you would get, you could potentially as well monetize that from other kinds of platforms which do work on those business models, Sam.
Mm. So we might as well also talk of potential customers then.
Yes, indeed. The digital online business models that you want to follow is acquiring as many potential customers as possible and then feeding them into your sales channel so that you can funnel them out into actual value propositions at the end. So, in our space, and as we've been sharing over the modules, that value proposition is much broader than monetary terms in a direct perspective. It could mean more content, more guests, even amongst members in our supporters club, for example. There could be business opportunities, and that aspect which we touched on last week in terms of networking is also a value proposition which may not necessarily be immediately directly linked to a financial reward, Sam.
Beautiful. Great. Any comments there, Margot, around the 3 points that we are addressing now? That the definition of your customer, the kind of service and products you offer, and then, of course, who we think among yourself provide what service. And I've seen that in some organization, everybody else in that organization is regarded as a provider of service, including the cleaners and the security and drivers. They are all part of the provision of the service. They may not be the ones that are in point contact with the customers, but they are contributing to the ultimate values proposition that is delivered face to face by the so-called salespeople. So the definition of is very, very important, and understanding of all this is very important because it influences your attitude in relationship to your own internal people who might not necessarily be having direct contact with customers.
Yes, you are right. I just want to add what Divesh was saying regarding the building a database around that. Recently, I'm going to use as an example. I was listening to a presentation done on entrepreneurship by a company based in US. So it was an online presentation. It was a very interesting presentation. And subsequent presentation ended, and I asked the question, "Can I get that on presentation?" She said to me, "Yes." But they said there was a catch. A catch was, yes, you can get it, but it costs $5. That says to you, the institution has built sufficient database to say, we are building this podcast. Who knows, in 2 years' time, we'll do a podcast like we do it now, interacting with the customers. And subsequently, the customer say, "Can I have received a copy of the podcast?" I said, "Yes, but there's a $10 you need to pay around it." Who knows? That's how you start building that profile, that brand, that product. And by so doing, you are not looking at short term, you're looking at long term.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll say, please participate in our questionnaire, after which we'll give you a white paper or a publication or a research report, something like that. So you can see that they are wanting you to give them a permission to add you to their database. But that is an incentive.
Exactly.
George, we can see you're online. I don't know whether you can hear us. George has just dropped me a note to say he's online, but we can't hear him. I don't know whether he can hear us. Michael, if you can, please just get hold of George and let him know that we see him in the studio, but we don't hear him. And it looks like he does not hear us. So you might have to log out and log back in. Great. So let's go to the next point here. It's about establishing your attitude. Why is the attitude so important as somebody that is a service provider to customers? And what are the challenges or in terms of the attitude? Who says you've got the right? Who determine whether you've got the right attitude or not?
Do you know, Sam? One of the things I'm trying to put into a box right now. One of the things which, when I'm doing a mentor and coaching for entrepreneurs, I will say, don't open a business unless you've got a customer. And secondly, one of the key elements about the customer is customers always complain. Your response to that customer will determine whether you've got a customer or not. That brings the issue of attitude. And I'll say, because that customer pays your bill, whether his attitude is wrong or right, it's your responsibility to manage it to make sure that you get your income. So that is an issue which you say, how does the attitude comes in a customer management? That is an idea. And very often I'll say, even if when you walk into your premises, into your business, something trigger you to be in a bad mood, but when that customer walk in, you need to change very quick and very fast. And secondly, the customer who complains, listen to that customer. Even if complaints is irrelevant, which means that customer will want to come back. Because the person who doesn't complain are the one to be extremely worried about them. They may not guarantee they're coming back.
Yes. Yes. So is there attitude for customers and an attitude for everybody else, or is there just good attitude that needs to be there all the time? Especially if you know in your business you are dealing with customers. Can one have two different kind of attitudes for different kind of people?
My take on that. My take on that is determine your attitude as a business owner in terms of who's your customer. And once you've determined that, you need to remain calm at all times. Because if you don't know what influence that customer has in terms of other customers you don't know about. Because if you can say we're going to have a tit for tat with the customer, you may kiss your business bye-bye because the customer pays your bill.
Now, here's the issue. Must we work on our attitude so that we are the type of people that don't have enough effort to be having good relationship with customers, or must we always thinking very hard and fast when we find ourselves facing the customer? What is the safest route to ensure that your attitude is always such that it will be liked by the customers? George?
Mine won't come from psychological perspective, but it will come from what you say, a wisdom. Always, irrespective of when and where, always remain calm.
Yeah. So there are certain personalities that will work very well in a customer-facing environment, right?
Yes.
What do you do then if you don't have? And you and yourself, with your business, you are everything, and sometimes you get challenged and you wake up having found yourself not treated the customer in a way that they're supposed to be treated, and you've endangered that relationship.
I don't think I've got answers for it. My approach is, if you don't have that, outsource it.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not you, but it's you people who work with you or work for you. So what must you do if their attitude is not right, especially when you are not there? And that mood.
Yes, I think what Rapula have just said, is it Rapula or Rumpile?
Rabula.
It's very challenging when he says the response to the customer will determine whether you have a customer or not. Some of the customers seems to be very, very abusive. And I want to take the advice of the Rapula that you must try to be as calm as possible. But sometimes you find that the way the customer is treating you is equal to amounting to taking you out of business. And sometimes you try to be as calm as possible to the extent that you find that you become helpless. And you try to elevate, you find that the people who are elevating to seem like to be in the same page with the people that you are dealing with directly. And you elevate to the second level, the second highest level, you still don't find you still don't find good answers from. Sometimes they just keep quiet, and they keep quiet for a week. So Rapula, in instances like this, what do we do?
You are painting a scenario of a very big organization, that Ramuta, right?
Yes, a very big organization.
They know that you need them, even though you provided a service to them, but they can take their time to respond to your needs as a supplier. And now you are tested to the limit.
Yes, we are tested to the limit indeed. But as I say, that thing, especially when it comes to payments, it has the potential of taking you out of business, especially when you are you have just started the business and they are maybe one of your biggest customers.
I guess the argument here is that you shouldn't shy away from asking for your money, but it's the how that is important. Say it with a smile. Don't throw tantrums, and don't behave in a way that you take it personal, and the personalities of yours and those of the people from the customer side that are servicing you are at play now. It's no longer about your company and their company. It's about you as individuals. Then you have lost the plot there. That's how I would look at it, Divesh.
Yes, Sam and Franz. The issue you're dealing with is in relation to the topic of tonight is about relationship building with your customer. And unfortunately, I wouldn't say only in South Africa, but let's deal with the now. That relationship, sometimes you've done everything, you've checked all the boxes, and you sit and you wait for your well-deserved payment. But certain instances require you to have that level of relationship with people who are the gatekeepers. So, like Sam is also alluding, you got to have those. You know who those gatekeepers are, firstly, and unlock whatever barriers there are for you to get paid for the services that you've delivered. So it's about a relationship that you got to have to work on and find out why there is a gatekeeper or who the gatekeeper is and how you need to unlock whatever's blocking the progress that you desire.
So the context here is that there is sales, there is delivery, there is invoicing, and there is customer service. So we're talking about customer service, which is actually servicing that relationship with the customer so that they remain your customer. Issuing them an invoice is not customer sales. You are selling to them. Once you have sold to them, they pay you. Now you must maintain the relationship. So in other words, take the sales out of the picture. It's about the relationship. Of course, the lack of paying you can damage that relationship. And if that relationship is weak, it will go out of the window immediately. But if that relationship is strong, they'll take a call and say, "But Ndadera Mutla, what has happened today? You normally don't behave like this." That means you have a very good relationship that they can tell you when you have rubbed them wrongly. But if you don't have a strong relationship, they can just close the account. I think that's a distinguishing factor, I guess, Ndadera Mutla.
Yes, actually, you touched on it. Sometimes, Divesh touched on it. Sometimes it's around personalities and pricing. You find that because you are a new company, your pricing is very, very low. And as time continues, you want to improve on your prices, and now the customer is not interested. So, but it's a
Because you don't have a very good relationship, so they can't understand and be empathetic with you. That's actually the point that I think maybe we need to emphasize, that certain things have to wait until you've built very good relationship.
So,
So
I want to acknowledge that sometimes, because of the prevailing attitude of an individual within the company, you find that I have now accepted that the relationship is broken and cannot be rebuilt, maybe because of my attitude or because of the attitude of the person that I'm working with in that company.
Yeah.
So the personalities and the attitude determine the sustainability of the relationship.
That's why escalation is also important. If you know,
I agree with all the submissions that yes, I admit that. I think I agree that the relationship is the one that will build a customer supplier relationship that is sustainable.
Yeah. So I think we're talking about the behaviors. That's why we're talking about the as Rabula was saying, the attitude, show the smile and be energized and be always positive. Even the person that might be not taking you serious, give them the benefit of the doubt because it's not their company. They are just employees. George, are you able to interject there? I think George must be experiencing connectivity challenges today. He comes through, but the network can't carry his voice. Okay. So, Umpile, is there any point you want to say around the point of establishing good attitude?
Yes. You mean establishing good attitude with the customer?
Yeah. So that you are able to give customer service that is receptive and value add.
Yes. From my side, I think it's always good to understand. In order to build a relationship with a customer, it's always good to understand first the needs of the customer, or they call it the pains of the customers. So I believe once you know those pains, you are able to adjust you are able to adjust an attitude that will be able to serve that customer. If, for example, maybe while I was at PSG, I used to do like internal customer support. So in IT, your customers normally would be people within the company. So you are saving them because IT mostly it's like a supporting function. So I would understand their customers. Maybe they would want to use a new system. So I would understand first that these people, maybe I would look at the person, I would say maybe this people is a baby boomer, or maybe this person is a generation Z. So based on their needs and also who they are, I would be able to to put my attitude based on who they are and then so that I can be able to serve them well. Because if I'm dealing with someone old, I would know that this person might be able, he wants to use the system and it might be actually difficult for them to use the system. So I would have to be a bit slower with them. And then if it's someone like Gen Z, I would be able to understand that. But that's just an assumption, obviously. But normally, that's something that is mostly general, and I will be able to say this person is a Gen Z, and that means they are more able to learn quickly with technology. So I won't have to be more slower, maybe explaining some digital content or some digital information to them. So yeah, I believe that I agree with other our fellow colleagues about making sure that you you have a good attitude towards your customers in order to make sure that the customers are happy, and never to fight with the customer or have a problem with them. So it's always to, even if the customer is pointing wrong at you, it's always good to just make sure that you end in peace with the customer, not to show any negative attitude towards them.
You have just touched also on point 3, which is basically understanding the customer's needs. You mentioned that it's like you're going extra mile to meet the needs of the customer. That particular customer you have just painted, an elderly, somebody that is not comfortable with technology or doesn't understand certain things. You put yourself in the shoes of that person and you go extra mile to meet their basic needs. And being creative how to help them and understanding their situation. So that is identifying the needs of the customer and delivering on them. Whereas the first point we were talking about was about your attitude, which is anything else before even you touch the customer, before even you deliver the customer. So there need to be intentionality about it, that your attitude can be a blockage to you being able to deliver the needs of the customer, even if you have understood them, right? I hope it's getting clearer, because the issue of attitude is something that is a trigger. You can be triggered without you not intending to be triggered. So therefore, you need to be cautious of the fact that you could be triggered into what your true attitude is, especially if you have not become aware of the fact that you are irritable, you are intolerant, you are not a friendly person, you are not able to smile, you are not able to remain energetic and positive at the times. Therefore, that on its own disqualify you to be a customer facing. Now, after that, if we tick the box there, then you need to be able to deliver very good customer service. You need to understand the needs of the customer and put yourself in the shoes of the customer, and also understand the situation of the customer as you painted Umpile. If you have a good attitude, but you don't have the ability to understand the needs of the customer and appreciate the situation of a customer, you having a good attitude doesn't make you deliver a good customer service. I think the combination of the two that Ramutla is excellent. George, are you able to talk? I'm longing to hear your input, George. Otherwise, that Ramutla, is it clarifying it now better? George?
Yeah, I've had to log in with another.
Let's give George a chance.
From when we started the relationship with the company. Unfortunately, sorry? I was saying
carry on.
It takes me back from when we started the relationship with the company. It didn't start well. But as the colleagues are advising now that you just keep your cool and then you just remain warm. But as time continues, you find that, as I said, sometimes, as Prasem said, it is an individual in the company and that person is not the company. But as Prasem said, you elevate, but when you elevate, you find that the attitude doesn't change. Sometimes when you elevate, they call you to a meeting and they issue out the outcome of the meeting. When you make an input on the outcome, they just keep quiet. And when they keep quiet, the complaint that you have put on the table remain the same. And that is a vicious cycle. And then as you elevate from the first senior person, you elevate to the second, and then you find yourself them keeping quiet. And what I see as a risk now, as they keep quiet, you start writing a long story. And the more you write a long story, the more they get agitated and they end up keeping quiet. But Prasem, those are the dynamics of relationships, attitude, identify their needs and try to adjust your services according to their needs. But you find that you are hitting a rock. But yeah, it's a journey. It's a journey, colleague.
What is important
As
is
we
that
share now, one could be able to see how to mitigate these challenges.
what is important is not to let one experience or incident change who you are in terms of your philosophy of how you relate to customers and how you offer customer service, because those will always be there. George?
Now, Sam, I'm not too sure where we are now. Just help me there, so maybe I can input.
I'm glad you are able to hear us. Maybe let's spare you a moment to first face yourself, enter the discussion. We were talking about the attitude as a somebody delivering the customer service, and then we're also talking about the importance of understanding and unpacking the needs of a customer, including understanding the situation of the customer. So I was just saying to Dadra Mula, in this case, his situation it seems to be informed by an incident. Now we are saying that don't let one incident make you change your whole perspective about customer relationship and customer service offering, because those are like extreme cases where you find that you escalate to the higher leadership in the customer's hierarchy, and then you find that the higher hierarchy leadership is behaving the same way as the person at the point of sale. Then it's a situation of that company not having a philosophy of building good relationship with their supplier, George.
Yes. Okay, that's sounding to me like an issue of culture.
Yes.
Usually, a business that has a culture that's customer centric, you will see by the way the senior management respond to any complaint. That person will be out of a job in no time. But if they are defending the offending employee, then there's a problem. It's a cultural issue. And so it goes much deeper than just that individual issue. And the long-term impact of that is that business may not stay too long in that space, because competitors come in who are customers.
So, in the case that Ramut has presented, he's being made to throw away the whole concept of customer service out of the window because he's not even able to practice it. Am I right in that, Ramut? Because of the frustrations. And yet the intention was you want to be very good at customer service.
Indeed, Prasem, it is true. Right now, we had our plans to improve the quality of the quality of the products we're doing. We have aligned and assessed the quality of service they need. As you are saying, we are not available. We are not able to move the next step in enhancing the growth of our company. within the needs of our customers. Yes, indeed.
And I assume, Divesh, any company that is going through difficulties is facing the challenge of actually changing their value system and their behaviors or their principles. But we are saying that should not be.
Yes, Sam. Indeed, there is huge elements of service-orientated businesses who are relooking at how they engage with customers and service providers, for that matter. Unfortunately, it is a long journey that we need to go in, especially if we look at the government services sector, which doesn't necessarily see the aspect of, if we don't improve service delivery or customer becomes customer centric in the business that we offer, that will close down. They don't see there being competitiveness in their space. And unfortunately, even if you do build that customer relationship, service provider relationship with an end customer, you do get elements of unethical practices. And again, it's something that you need to elevate yourself towards a level of dealing with that unethical behavior. In relation to the example Francis alluding to, I'm pretty sure that it's a case of unethical behavior which is causing all the frustration and the delays. If there was something that was outstanding through a regular customer centric approach, customer relationship building approach, which we are sharing here tonight on COMETSA Radio, then it would have resolved his challenges. But if it's an issue where they want to drag it out, it means that there is definitely some unethical behavior that's at play, and it does require a different approach as opposed to being the friendly, smiley person that you're part of a customer relationship.
Yeah. And I must say, thanks, George, Divesh. I must say, I have in cases that I can refer to in my own situation where I looked afterwards, realized that I could have behaved a little bit better, but because of pressures, you end up actually wrapping that relationship in a way that is not right. Sometimes they may not tell you, but you know yourself that here I think I've upset the client. And the problem with that is that you run a risk of not securing return business. And that's the next point we talk about. The value of good customer relationship is securing return business from the existing client. And in my experience, Rapula, I found that the excuse me, the sustainability of business is really very much depending on the return business. And if you are not able to secure return business, it becomes very, very challenging to remain in business because you can't always be securing new clients. You can, but you shouldn't base your growth on just securing. You must retain clients.
Yes,
And that's why customer is so important.
You are right. That's why I often say is if you've got a very good mixture of the two, and a mixture, I mean, if 50% of your cash flow is a continuing customers and 50% of new customers, then you are in for a business for a longer period.
Yeah. And return business, in other words, business from the existing customer, it's a very easy business. All what it needs is that just nurture the relationship and deliver on what is expected as you have always delivered, and don't lower the standard that they are used to. If you know that you are going to lower the standard, make sure that you reach out to them before they experience it themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. Because don't forget, first impression lasts longer. If right at the first delivery of the product, you were right there with the best service delivery, and only to find that in a process you missed the boat, chances are they may not even come back.
And it's very painful to lose a client that you have been helping for. Ask me about that.
It's very painful to the client whom you have invoiced before. It is very painful.
Yeah. And that's what makes it quite very difficult, because sometimes they also have their own expectations, but they don't communicate them to you. They say, hey, Rapula, we have been giving Rapula for good business for 3 years. Why can't he just in the 4th year just give us a discount? So that means you must also listen to the vibes, George.
Exactly.
That's right. Listening to clients is the biggest challenge. Just to understand them, what they want. Because once they find good service, they don't want to go look elsewhere. You really have to mess it up big time for them to leave you. But it's also important, just like the good wife at home, to buy the roses and the chocolates to ensure things are sustainable.
Yeah. By the way, at the end of the day, you are dealing with individuals who are the representative of this company. We keep on saying client, but this particular client being a company, you're talking of individuals. Maybe there's individual 1, individual 2, individual 3. And now you're having individual 4, 5, and all of them, they meet together in a meeting and they discuss you. And if one of them just get wrapped wrongly, he can go, or she can go and influence the rest to say, no, this one, I don't think we need him anymore. And then they might say things that make the others believe, is this how he is? So that way it becomes very dicey.
Yeah, that's very true, sir.
So don't over-service one person and forget about the rest in that Ramut.
Yeah, indeed. Divesh has talked about unethical practices. I'm dealing with a company that has got a code of ethical practice. And, the code of conduct is one of the dispute resolution mechanism. Even when you quote certain clauses in that code of conduct, an ethical practice continues. But I agree with Divesh that now this requires a different approach. This issue of escalating, one has to think about another approach.
Yeah,
The other
and also, Ndadera Mutla, I think when you get to the point where you are even having to point the code of ethics and conduct to a client from their own book, that might just be kissing goodbye to business. What do you think, Divesh?
Sometimes, Sam, I mean, there's a predetermined endpoint that you must decide as a business person or even on an individual level to say you've reached your fill. Your cup is not going to be overfilling. And sometimes it's a difficult decision to make that, even in relation to our point of discussion for the digital online streaming, that sometimes it's just best to part ways. You got to decide whether you can take the journey further, take the fight further, but sometimes the difficult decision is to really part ways uh, and something as well, which is also important, which Rapula mentioned, is sometimes you also got to balance your risks, in that if this kind of situations materialize, your business doesn't just close up because of a customer that you've had destroying everything that you've built. You got to actually manage your risks so that if this materializes, you do have other customers that can keep you afloat while you decide what path to take next.
Especially in respect to the sector in which you are practicing, because the weight goes around. And then you end up having people, even though potential customers, starting to shy away from you. And this speaks also to the next point, which is about turning difficult customers around, addressing complaints and following up. But I agree with you, Divesh. You need to know up to how far you can chase, especially even we look. It's business is not business unless you sometimes take losses. Sometimes you're chasing after one big amount, but in doing so you lose 100 other smaller amounts. And when you add it together, you realize that yes, you lost big money, but you kept smaller amounts, but you've kept clients. So turning around the difficult clients sometimes are a learning ground, painful as it is. And you learn to understand that not everybody that you negotiate business with is going to turn around to be very good experience for you. But if you're going to personalize it, then you are not servicing your business, you are servicing your own emotions as a person.
Right.
And sometimes, if you feel that you have got short valves, if I may use that, send somebody, a colleague, to chase after the money than yourself, because you are not going to talk nicely to people. You might say, yes, but there's a contract I delivered, pay me. But they pay you and then they delete you from the supplier base. Or they take an oath to take a decision never to invite you. And they won't tell you, and you won't even know. That's the sad part. But I think if you already have a difficult customer or a customer with whom you made a bad experience, you have nothing to lose in trying to turn that into positive. You can only gain. What do you think, Rabula? Dadramut.
I was going to allude by saying you are correct, Sam, by turning a difficult client into a positive energy. And in so doing, even if you realize the potential of the client and they decided, you know what, even if I had to take sell this product at a cost, let it be, because the future value from this customer is much more bigger than the current cost of the product.
But yeah, it's also very. Can you hear me? Today my connectivity is really quite a challenge. You can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, George.
I was going to say that whether the customer stays or goes, it's always an opportunity to learn for your business. If they go, then you must review and say, what could we have done better?
Yeah.
We did X, could we have done better? If really you could have done better and didn't, then that's a learning point. He's gone, but that's a learning point for the future. But if you did all that was humanly possible to retain him and they still left, then it's a learning to say, when we get someone who is going in this direction, it's an opportunity to, one, clarify your position as a business. This is what we stand for. These are the things that we do. And obviously, if that individual can't work with that, then that's when you part ways. So I don't think a customer will always be there irrespective of the attitude and behavior. But you must always come away from the situation having learned a lesson and done the best you can. I think if you can tick those boxes, you will always have the client who will walk away. But you tick the boxes that you've done the best you can.
Yeah. Especially if the client is professional enough not to close the communication channels. I must say that my experience is that there are certain clients that they just choose not to, as Ntatera Mutla was saying, they just choose to ignore you. You send the WhatsApp, they blue tick you. You send the email, they don't respond. You call, they don't answer.
Right.
That is, if they do that, they're really playing emotional game, and that is no longer about their business and your business. It's really about them as a person, because that is unprofessional, and therefore maybe worrying about them is not going to be healthy for you emotionally.
Right. That's true.
Dadramut.
Thanks, George. On a positive note, the situation that we find ourselves in, we can take it as a learning curve. And yeah, we are gradually accepting that we have lost the client, but we are taking advantage of the lessons we learned from working with them to diversify and do other things that were on the plan, but we didn't push because we were focusing on them. So right now we are happy because we have started with other products that we have identified the cash cows that we must work with whilst waiting for the money that is not forthcoming. We realize that if we just wait and wait and wait and fall into their trap of just keeping quiet, let us do something. And we're happy that there are products that are on the line now that have got a customer base that we can start serving. Yeah.
And Dadramutla, can I use your case study again to bring another perspective?
Yes.
What if your client has got issues that they feel make them justified to treat you the way they've treated you, but they just don't think they want to tell you?
It is just difficult because once they keep quiet, I won't be able to understand what are they up to.
Mm.
But I want to be honest that some of their action was provocative and led me to respond in a particular way. Like I say, I write long stories. In writing long stories, somewhere there is an element of truth that you are saying which they don't want to listen to, and they just choose to keep quiet.
Now,
So I wouldn't.
let's sit on your case again. I'm just playing a devil's advocate.
Yes.
What if they say you are not prepared to bring yourself below them because you are clear about what you think is rightly due to you?
This is very interesting, Utipatan, because there were two bills they have to pay. One bill I reduced by 40%, they pay immediately. One bill I reduced by 10%. Because I moved the goalpost, I didn't stick to the initial cost. I reduced by 10%. They just keep quiet. Or at some stage, arrangements were made for them to pay, but they decided to pay an amount. They just decided to pay their own amount.
So what if I say that situation? What if I say this situation that you landed?
It's a case study, isn't it, Basim? Yeah, it's a case.
Yeah. What if I say that the situation that you find yourself in, you and them, is as a result of not having good customer services experience having been brought up front, or maybe the time was too short for you guys to develop a rapport in terms of which you can then experience good customer services. Rabula, it doesn't have to be that Ramuta answering.
Sam, you're right. I'll take leverage from what George says, or he says. Sometimes as business owners, we need to go back to the drawing boards. I said, what is the learning from here? Humble yourself and humble your team. And subsequent to that, even if how difficult the customer could be, the question you need to go back is say, what is my return on investment in this customer? If it's appropriate to continue fighting, do it. If it's not, I'm not using fighting in a spirit of real fighting. I'm using fighting in a spirit of saying, I have to retain this customer, no matter what.
Mm.
So if it's not worth it, and then you realize that you need to go and start from scratch, do it. Don't even hesitate to say,
Yeah.
let me cut my losses now, because if I maybe go beyond these losses, I might end up in a serious tears.
Yes. And you might not only lose a business, you also lose your brand,
Exactly.
the brand reputation and all those type of things. And that speaks to point number 8, which is again about recovering difficult customers. They talk about de-escalating anger, try to establish common ground between you and the customer that you are not finding each other, and setting your limits as Divesh was saying. There's a certain limits you have to set and not go beyond, and then of course managing your own emotions, because in a customer supplier relationship conflict there are no winners. The customer loses a supplier. Maybe you are very good in your own way. They lose you, and then you lose a customer. Yes, you find other customers, but it's not going to be customer George. It's going to be somebody else who brings another dynamics, which might also be new. So I think customer services and customer relationship speaks to us as actionaries or doers or actors on behalf of our companies. It's not speaking to the company. And now, if our egos and our conviction and our own so-called experience becomes bigger and important than the relationship between your two companies, that's why some companies say, like, we don't want the executive directors to be talking to customers because they're going to tell the customers off because of their own egos. I'm a boss here. Who are you to tell me? you know. Meanwhile, you are losing sales.
It's a big training point for salespeople that pride has no place in sales. If you are selling, you're selling. Forget about your ego, how big it is, and all of that doesn't matter. Always remember. That's why in the old days we used to have this: the customer is king. It was to deal with the pride aspect, where you can't do that to me. Do you know who I am? No, that doesn't happen. What I want to do is to a product and make. That's really at the end of the day. It's not about you as a person. And in fact, we get in our own way. I find as coaches, we get in our own way when we are dealing with our own clients as well. Because George comes in, but it shouldn't, because you are helping somebody to find solutions to the issues that they have so that they become better. That's why you're there. Your personal ego doesn't even feature and shouldn't. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the next point that they're talking about here is understanding when to escalate. But the reason why that is important is to learn to avoid or to capacitate you to be able to cope with insults and deal with legal and physical threats. We are too quick to say, you know what, I'll get my lawyer to sort you out. Now you are threatening this individual. Actually, you are threatening the company, but you don't realize that the company in its own legal form is innocent. It's just that you and the representative of the company, you are playing egos to each other. And now you want to say to them, I'm going to get my lawyer to sort you out. Then he says, okay, go ahead, knowing very well that it's not him who's going to go to court. The company will protect itself, especially if the contract is very clear.
As my lawyer is bigger than your lawyer.
Yeah. That's why there is things like arbitration and all those type of things, because they do realize that sometimes certain cases should not have even been taken to court. They say, no, guys. Then you find your two lawyers, the two lawyers say, guys, you know what? We recommend you just go and do an arbitration. You don't need to be here. Because cases land in court not because of legal company entities. It's because of individuals who became heated up and then started to do things that damaged the relationship between the two companies. Now, for us who are running our own companies, this is a very delicate situation.
It is because, like I said, we're human beings, so we will take offense. But always be speaking to yourself every time something goes wrong, understanding that you must be telling yourself, get out of the way. You must always get out of the way. And then, let business be at the forefront.
Yeah.
And this is why it's important as we run our own business to have somebody to talk to. Somebody to talk to, and to be very clear with your clients at the forefront. This is what we do here. These are the steps we take, etc., etc. My phone is available for you to phone me. But make sure that at the start of a relationship, the people understand you as much as possible. Sure, there's no way you can be understood 100%, but the best you can. This is how we do things here. So that they make a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Don't spring things on them. Oh, this is how we do things here. And we're 2 years into a relationship. You never told me that's how you do things here.
And the other danger of being the owner of a company or the leader, the director of a company, at the same time customer facing, is that there's a lot of other information at the back of your mind that the customer is not even aware of, that even your own other colleagues are not aware of. As you are talking to this customer, you are busy calculating your balances at the bank. So you can't think sober. You can't be straight. Because they tell you that, no, we'll pay you in 30 days and you want to negotiate to be paid in 15 days because you know that your balance is not working out. But you can't tell the customer because you don't want to be embarrassed. So your emotions are driven by something. It's not always because you're just emotional being. You are emotional at that particular point in time because certain things are not well with you, and therefore you can't be facing a customer at that moment. But the situation forces you to do that. In the process of squeezing the money out of the customer, you are destroying the relationship.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to know what is the cause of certain attitudes and behaviors and egos and practices. It's always located somewhere. Rather deal with those issues than making them the center of the center of determining your attitude with your customer. Because the customer is king indeed, George. Because if the customer are not there, there's no business, as Rapula would say. If you're going to start business, make sure that you have a customer, because otherwise it's just going to be fury. And when you have a customer, make sure that you know exactly what they need from you, and make sure that you know your products and services that you are offering to a point that you even know how much it's worth. And when they say, yes, I'm in, know how to face it in. Because sometimes dumping the entire products on the client, you might just be setting them off. So all those things that are nitty-gritties of ins and outs of the relationship are not written on the surface when you do customer relationships. That's why companies will choose somebody who is far removed from all these others. Their job is just to go and entertain the customer and introduce the products. And when it's time to sell, they leave it to other people or something like that. It's like a salesperson, George, that has been given a target and is left with 1 month to make a target, and they start going to abuse those willing customers to make a target at the end of the month. And once they find out that you use them like that, you are gone.
Yeah, every salesman has got their targets. It's not a nice one when a customer isn't behaving and he's making you fail to meet your target.
Yeah.
But as Devesh said, it's also important to know the limits. There's sometimes you get to a point where you say, okay, this is actually the right time just to cut the relationship. Not that you want it, not that you love it, but it's the practical thing for both him and you to go their separate ways. Always try to understand that point and get to it and move on.
And I think in agreement with Tatera Mutla, we all agreeing that it's nice we are tackling this topic. This is not so nice topic. This is a very challenging topic and yet so necessary for us to succeed as business people. I think after sales, this is one topic that you can't get wrong. Great. I look at time. It's amazing how time flies when we're discussing topics closer to ourselves like this. So I think the same applies in terms of our relationship with the guests, with the hosts that we bring to our shows, our listeners, and all other stakeholders. Do you mind checking out and also just pick up one of the 10 points, 10 things you can do to wow customers? We've got 10 of them. I've shared them with you. And please, the one who check first starts with number 1. Make your remarks on it, your view on it, and then also reflect on the discussion and check out. Who wants to check out first? And also touch one of those 10 things you can do to wow your customers.
I have the least to contribute, Sam, because I came in late. So I can just say, from what I heard, the most important thing for me, and has always been, is to listen to customers. However way you do it, with whatever method you use to listen to them, because there's always something in what they say. It might help you improve your products. It might just keep them longer as your customers, but that's a big one. Learn to listen to them, and you get better as the years go by and as you get to know them, because most of them will not open up immediately, but learn to listen to them. They might not be direct. It's also a cultural thing. There are other cultures where they're direct. Hey, this is wrong. In other cultures, they're more respectful. They don't. But get to learn to know your customers and hear what they are saying. That's huge, that one.
I hear you also saying that don't judge them. Just receive what they're saying.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah. And then let me assign point 1 here, George. Say, greet customers with a smile, either in person or on the phone.
Yeah, always with a smile. And people can tell when that smile is fake, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They say that this might sound corny, but customers can indeed hear the smile in your voice when you talk on the phone. Good one. Thanks, George. Divesh?
Yes, and from my side, I'd combine 2 because I think they're relevant with each other. One is to definitely have a in-depth knowledge and understanding of the products and services that you are offering to the customer. And in the same vein, when you are sharing your knowledge and uh, um, knowledge around your product and service, you must not belittle the customer or make them feel as if you are seeing them as being unknowledgeable about the sector and the like.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, that's the mistake that we tend to do because they are the customers and they are buying your product. You always think that they don't know anything about what you are trying to sell to them. To find out there's an engineer there who knows your product and even yourself. And it might be just be embarrassing. Absolutely. Thank you, Divesh. And Adera Mudla. We're not hearing you, Adera Mudla. While you're still sorting your network, let me ask Rapula to check out.
Sam, the take home, it's where I'm sitting is to say that calmness to the customers, irrespective whether you are wrong or you are right. And even if you are right and the customer is wrong, as long as you can remain calm and especially watch the ways you're gonna speak to the customer on, you will retain your customers and you will make business similar customers. Even if what could have been a loss at the time, you can add it on as a premium and due cost to recover your losses. It's going to be very simple by listening to their customers and making sure that you calm that customer down. That's my take on this evening in terms of the customer service and the customer. Who's the customer? Thank you.
This is our goal, Terabula. Doesn't matter what we think. If this person that is facing you is working for a company that pays for your service, they are that company. And even if you feel you are very right in your views, if you really love your company and you really want to grow, you need to put your company first. Doesn't mean that you allow yourself to be abused, but it's very important to remember that, yes, you are the director of this company, but this company needs to be given the opportunity to make money. And you are the only person or one of the many people that represent this company that is just a legal entity that cannot talk on its own behalf. I think that's the key point there that you are emphasizing.
Yeah, you're spot on, sir.
Mm.
You know, Umpile.
Yes, thank you, Tatesem. From my side, I also have learned more about keeping like a positive attitude when you approach a client. So it's always good to come with a positive energy, and also like what I think is it Divesh who said who said I think it was something about having a smile in your face, and when a customers can see through you if you are giving them like true or you are not giving them true. So always trying to be authentic in helping the customer. Like, don't just try to lie to a customer because you want just to impress them, but give it your all in all. And when you give that smile, it must be a smile to say that the customer can also see that it's an authentic smile. So that's
Yeah.
something I learned. And also that you have to always make sure that you get the customer and you retrain the customer. That's something I took up from the session today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Umpile. I hope we met your expectations as you have been looking forward to this discussion.
Yes, it just ran short because like you said when you finished, but when it gets more interesting, you find out that the time is gone.
Yeah. Good. Nadira Mutla, your last word?
Tonight, I'm sure it was about confirmations. In a supplier-customer relationship, there will often be challenges that will require specific interventions. And some interventions will help retain the relationship, while some will require the customer to acknowledge that the relationship cannot be mended, and therefore he should accept that and terminate the relationship. It was also confirmed that sometimes you deal with personalities in the company, whereas that individual does not own that company. And therefore you must try by all means to escalate. Sometimes you might be lucky to get the correct answers, but obviously if you don't get the correct answers, you have to move on. It was also the importance of identifying the causes of the breakdown in the relationship is very important. because then you'll come up with interventions that addresses the causes rather than looking at the interventions that address the issues, and the issues are symptoms. And if you are looking at symptoms, you won't come up with the correct interventions. So those are the confirmations for me for tonight. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you, colleagues. I think we are educating ourselves more than just preparing ourselves for servicing our guests and listeners. This applies across the board. Thank you so much, and this lay the ground for the next week's topic, which is going to look at planning and implementation of the show, and we're gonna look at our organizational skills, how to go about doing that. And I would like us to use case studies from our previous shows, George, Rapula, Divesh, Dadara Mutla, and Mpile. I think we all have a first-hand experience of all the logical steps that you need to follow until the show takes place. But the reference point is the organizational skills. We run businesses. Sometimes we are diving into our business and find ourselves doing a lot of logistical stuff and administrative stuff. And if you don't have organizational skills, you literally can't get out of that ladder. And that affects the productivity levels out there in the market. So that will be next week's topic. I'm sure you're looking forward to that one. Thank you so much, listeners, colleagues. That was unit number 30, Conduct 25, Customer Service and Aftercare. That was COMETSA Radio Worldwide, the mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle called the idea. We inform, entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. We will have the podcast of this unit available within 24 hours. You can check it. And I hope we have addressed some of your expectations. Thank you. We look forward to welcome you again next week as we move on with unit number 31, Conduct 26, Planning and Implementation Using Organizing Skills. My name is Sam Zimmer, and I was joined by our co-hosts, Rapula Mulivani, Divesh Motilal, Franz Ramutla, Ompile Leepile, George Mutenda Zamera, and then, of course, you listeners, thank you for being part of us. Goodbye and take care.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Night. Thank you.